Hello again. I'm sure that we have all seen declarations from organisations like the Fire Brigade, Police and National Health Service expressing their fierce determination that their workforces should reflect the community we serve. Even theoretically, this is a dubious proposition. Suppose, for example, that you have 10 applicants for a job, all of whom fulfil the minimum criteria. So the job might say that somebody needs at least 3 A levels or at least a degree in such and such. Now, here's the difficulty. Let's imagine half the applications are from white people who not only fulfil the minimum expectations, but exceed what is needed. They might have glittering careers, previous experience, various other things to recommend them. Perhaps they're also first-class sports people or have useful skills which are not mentioned in the specification for the job but would nevertheless be handy. Should you then, in the interest of diversity and inclusion, offer the post to a black person who just about has the bare minimum qualifications required? Won't this have the effect of handicapping your organisation, because the more highly qualified candidate will then go off somewhere else? This is happening a lot in Britain these days and means that public bodies who are obsessed with having more black staff are losing the best candidates, who are usually white, to commercial companies not so wedded to left-wing ideology. I dare say that we have most of us observed the results of this, as the police, a big one for this kind of thing, recruit more and more black people and other minorities who are in the first place just about able to do their jobs, but they also bring with them traditions and customs, cultural baggage if you like, which are not necessarily what we need for a modern police force in the Western world. I don't need to remind viewers of the cases in recent years involving black police officers whose behaviour showed that they might not have been the best people for the job. The Home Secretary has announced that ethnic minority officers are to be promoted to senior ranks in preference to white officers as a way of increasing the number of senior black officers. The legal profession is another field where there is great enthusiasm for black and other ethnic minority people. A while ago, the fruits of this policy appeared. One barrister, Anisar Ahmed, had an adulterous affair with a man called Iqbal Muhammad. Yes, this was in England. After things turned sour, Ms. Ahmed claimed that she had been raped by Muhammad and then stabbed herself and tried to lay the blame on him. She was sent to prison for perverting the course of justice. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news item about this story. Here is a question for viewers to consider. Do they suppose that 40 years ago, when almost all barristers in England were of white British heritage, something like this would have happened? Can anybody imagine a barrister called Susan Brown having an affair with David Smith and then carrying on in this way? This has nothing to do with intelligence or ability to practice law. It is simply a constitutional difference between people raised according to different cultural norms. In the last few years, the only barristers, solicitors and police officers whom I have seen ending up at the Old Bailey or receiving prison sentences have belonged to minorities. We think of the MP Fiona Onasanyu, who was a solicitor. She was sentenced to 3 months imprisonment for perverting the course of justice a couple of years ago. Then there was Constance Briscoe, who was a judge. She was sent to prison for the same offence. Then there was Police Superintendent Robin Williams of Caribbean heritage, who ended up appearing at the Old Bailey and is now on the sex offenders register. The Black Police Officers Association says that sacking her for this was an example of institutional racism in Metropolitan Police. These then are two problems with the constant drive for diversity and inclusion in the workplace. For whatever reasons, perhaps social and relating to class, white candidates are likely to have better profiles than black applicants for important jobs. By deliberately rejecting strong white candidates in favour of mediocre or weak black ones, which is official policy in many places, an organisation is liable to slip professionally and not attract the best applicants for posts. Recruitment should be colour-blind. The second problem is that those from backgrounds other than being rooted in British traditions might have quite different ways of doing things and ideas about what is acceptable and what's not. In the police, legal profession and elsewhere, this can lead to trouble. Nobody is suggesting, at least I am not, that there should be discrimination against black people or those whose families are from the Indian subcontinent. What might be a better idea would be for initial screening of applicants to be colour and origin blind. That is to say, by removing names and other distinguishing features and letting them all compete on an even playing field. Perhaps some viewers are wondering why nobody has ever thought of this. Surely colour-blind recruitment would be a wonderful idea. The answer is that it has been thought of and it has been tried out. I'm planning to do a video on this subject, but in the meantime, I wonder if viewers would like to guess what happens in the process if we actually have completely colour-blind and origin-blind recruitment. Which sort of candidates do they suppose get chosen on that basis?